What's up, everybody? So this is something that's kind of unusual for my videos here, but we have a neon sign, and I know this isn't guitar related or anything, but I got this on Craigslist. The guy was selling it for like 30 bucks, so I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. He said it worked. He plugged it in, unplugged it, and looked like it worked. He did it real quick, you know. And then when I brought it home and I plugged it in, it works, but it does some funky stuff. Let me show you. Now there's two, we're getting a little bit of a flicker. There's two settings to this. There is a low setting and a high setting. When I have this on the high setting, it'll start flickering, it'll go dim, and then what will happen is on one of these areas, I believe it's right there, you won't be able to see it, but right here, it'll actually start smoking. Now at this point I'm waiting to see the smoke rise. I just have to give it a minute and it'll start rising up from this thing. And I need to figure out why is it smoking, and I need to figure out why is this flickering. Okay? And if you're going to be working on neon signs, make sure that you do it unplugged. The power supply, the transformer down there, is a lot like a ignition coil, like in a car. It'll end up giving out, you know, 5,000, 15,000, 20,000 volts, and you don't want to screw around with any of that crap. I'm starting to smell burning. Okay, I'm starting to smell burning right now. So I'm waiting to see the smoke. And it'll start rising up. Here it is. Here it is. Do you see that smoke? Do you see that? Hopefully you see that. So I'm going to unplug this. Now each one of these, each part of this, you're going to see that it's made up of different tubes. Okay, so like we can just kind of trace it. We have one that starts here, it's the yellow, okay, goes around, flips this way, comes over here, stops here. Okay, so this is one tube. This one starts here, it says Miller, and then it stops here. So before I do anything, I need to make sure that it's either a problem with the tube or a problem with the transformer. Okay, and the way that I'm going to end up doing that is I'm going to disconnect. See, these are just twisted on. The wires hooked up to this. Let me see if this is cool enough for me to touch now. Okay, these are just twisted on, and you have to be really careful when you are dealing with a neon sign because it's very fragile. So let me come over here and hopefully you can kind of see what's going on right here. There are a few wires, and I'm just going to try to untwist both of these and take this neon neon tube out of the equation. So we've got one of these wires, and these are, you see that there's heavy insulation on these wires, and you can't use any old wire to replace this. You have to use a heavy insulated wire. There's so much voltage going through this that if this is not heavily insulated, it'll end up creating a spark, and it'll short out next to the ground here. It'll just pop, 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 and then you'll end up getting a dim and a malfunctioning neon light. So got the first one done. Let me disconnect this one. The way that you would remove the actual Miller is you'll see that there's little pieces of copper that are wrapped around these little spacers that go into the frame, and then you could just unwrap these, and then this piece will come out. And I think in this particular case I'm going to end up doing that. Now inside a neon tube there is not a filament. It's not like an incandescent light. It is, you've got a, like basically an electrode down here, one down here, and there's such high voltage, and with the gas inside there, the arc kind of follows the gas and it ends up getting to the other side. So this is where it's burning, right here in this area. I'm not completely sure why that's getting as hot as it's getting. Sometimes there's, they do put a little bit of mercury in these tubes, and sometimes the mercury is not vaporized. So if it's not vaporized, sometimes the mercury will cause it to kind of flicker. So you know, you can shake it, you can turn the thing on and off quite a few times to try to re-vaporize that mercury. I don't think that's what the problem is, but I got to figure out what's going on over here. I got to see what's happening. But I'm going to take this out of the equation for now. Put this in a safe spot. And we had two wires like this that originally went to that piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two wires, I'm going to twist them together. This essentially bypasses that tube. The last thing that I want this to do is arc. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to call that good. And I'm going to plug it back in, and I'm going to see if we get any flickering. And we don't. We don't. So what this tells me is that the rest of the tubes are good. The transformer is good. The only thing that's bad at this point is that particular tube. So let me unplug this. That's good news. It's just a tube that says Miller that's bad. So if we still got a flicker afterwards, if it was still going dim, it still could be a number of things. It could be the connection on this tube to here and this tube to here, right? It's possible. But that's not what we're seeing. Okay, we're not seeing any flicker like that. But it could also be a bad transformer. It could be that there's another tube that's wrong. But the best thing to do is you just kind of look at it and see what is creating the problem, try to bypass it and see if it fixes it. And if you, by bypassing it, if it fixes it, then you know what the problem is. So we're dealing with a potentially bad tube. Now, I can order a new tube, which I'm probably not going to be too happy about the price of it. Now, if you have an old neon sign, it's got dust and grease and everything all over it, you can take the tubes out, just like I did this one here, and you can wash them. Okay, you can put this inside the sink and just with a little bit of detergent, try to use your fingers if possible to clean. You don't really want to scrape, like with a scouring pad, and be very gentle because this is just glass. Okay, be really gentle. But what they'll do is they'll put black paint to hide a portion of the neon, so that way it doesn't show up. So from the rear you wouldn't really see too much, and from the front, you know, it can separate the letters and stuff like that. And this stuff can come off. Now, generally, these signs they shouldn't get as hot as it's getting right here. I mean, it's getting really hot, and especially in this area, for some reason. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to sand off a little bit of this red paint that is on the wires. Possibility that it's creating too much resistance, and resistance causes heat. Okay, so that could be it. There could be something back here that's heating up. I'm not sure. So I'm going to sand some of this off too, because I want to see if what's going on back here. So we've got one cable here, and we've got one cable here. That wasn't even on very good. So I'm going to end up taking this and wrapping this around here and see if it makes it better or if it makes it worse. Just bypassing here. Let's find out. And we're getting smoke again. Okay, right over here we're getting smoke. So, as I feared, it is the electrodes in there that have gone bad, which sucks. That sucks, because other than that, the sign itself is fine. So I'm going to have to order. Ooh, man, there's a lot of heat coming from that. So I'm going to have to order a new neon tube that says Miller. Now, technically, I could just go ahead and wire those two together and just leave the Miller out. But I'm going to leave this on for about 10 minutes to see if it starts smoking. I don't think it's going to, but I'm going to leave it on for about 10 minutes, see if I can smell anything, see if I smoke. If not, then I know, you know, I got to replace that Miller portion of the neon. And the place that makes this neon sign is Enhance. That's the name of the company, is Enhance, and they're the ones that make the transformers as well. And I've already contacted them, asking them if I needed to get a part for this, you know, could I do it? And they said yeah. So they sell replacement parts. I don't know how much it's going to be. Knowing my luck, probably $80–90, probably more than this thing is worth. But I'd like to have this up and running. That's pretty much all I can do with this thing for today, and then until I order my new part.